Recorded live from the secret underground lair of Crimson Cowl Comics and Collectibles, this is the Crimson Cowl Comic Club Podcast.
The following issues may contain spoilers. It's time to stuff burritos in our faces so that we don't say something weird. I'm Anthony.
I'm Kirby.
And I'm Katie.
Welcome to issue number 290 of the Crimson Cowl Comic Club Podcast. Yes, 290. That means issue number 300 is just 10 weeks away. This is a show where we talk about comic books. This show, we won't have a club discussion, but we will have weekly reviews. That's where we go back and forth and we talk about the books that we've been reading, whether they're new, whether they're old. We're going to talk about them there. That is our only segment for this episode. But to give a reminder on the club discussions that we do, we have upcoming issues of Once Upon a Time at the End of the World with issue number 11. We have Tales from the North, The Dungeon, which is the Crimson Cowl Media exclusive comic book that is created by David Gloyd and David Gloyd II, right here from the Crimson Cowl Comic Club. And then the April special, the all monkey banana scented comic that comes out from DC Comics. If you get the banana scented variant, well, I'm not sure if the digital banana scent is going to come through the the Apple ports where you plug in your charger or not, but we'll see how that works. All right, so that is going to be the lineup for the show. We are going to jump into the weekly reviews, and to kick it off, we will start with Katie. What's the first on the list?
All right. Hello, everyone. This week I am actually bringing a repeat. It's Warehouse 13, the trade paperback. I reviewed this a few years ago, and it was just on my mind. I wanted to reread it and see if it still holds up, so I am happy to bring it. Warehouse 13 was a sci-fi original show that ran from 2009 to 2014. This comic is published in partnership with Sci-Fi and Dynamite. It's written by Ben Robb, Derek A. Hughes, Mike Johnson, Ian Maddox, Jean-Paul Nickel, Mark Franklin Williams, Ian Stokes, art by Ben Morse, Robert Gill, Gordon Purcell, colors by Ben Morse, James Babbo, and Jonathan Cooper, and the letterers by Bill Tortolini. That's his last name. Sorry, Bill. All right. So the premise of Warehouse 13 is Secret Service agents are recruited to hunt down dangerous magical artifacts throughout the world and protect humanity from their effects and the people that would use them for evil. Our main characters are Micah and oh god, I just read this. What's his name? Micah and Pete. Micah Baring and Pete Latimer. And then we also have Artie Nielsen and Claudia Donovan supporting the cast. So those are all the characters from the show. The first 3 issues in this series are basically Micah and Pete going throughout the universe and collecting artifacts. They are in Brazil to find a magical hammer that was used to help build the Great Wall of China that's causing all these earthquakes. Then they go to Ireland and are investigating this fog that's coming and eating people. So it's literally the fog is coming meme. And it turns out that is a sensor, like a prayer sensor, that's causing this fog to eat people. And then they go to Japan, and the Japanese mafia has gotten their hands on a magic whip that was used by some old military general. It's been a rough week at work. Sorry, that's why I'm not making any sense. They find an old military whip that can now cut people in half. And at the end of issue 3, they go, wait a minute, all of these are connected. Something funny is going on here. And in issues 4 and 5, they find the architect of this grand conspiracy, who then tricks Micah and Pete into coming to her secret island, and they end up having this big Hunger Games showdown where Micah and Pete are running for their lives against rich billionaires who are trying to hunt them down, and it's kill or be killed. And then at the end of the day, our agents all save the day. They get the bad guy, and everything is cool. Like I said, I wanted to review this to see if it stood up. It's been on my list for a while. When I first got this in my collection, I was really excited about it. And honestly, I'm not sure if it's going to stay in my collection. It's not bad per se, but it doesn't offer a lot on rereads. If so, I've watched all of Warehouse 13, I think like 3 times. I really like that show. It's good. So I enjoy this comic quite a bit. It really feels like another season of the show. And I can hear the characters' voices that match up to how they're written on the TV show. If you are not a Warehouse 13 fan who also likes comics, which I know is a pretty small niche, it's going to read like a buddy cop series mixed with the X-Files. So if you like that, cool. But otherwise, you're not really going to get a lot out of this comic, I don't think. This is definitely written for, I think, the primary audience is going to be Warehouse 13 fans. I did still enjoy it. I'm glad I reread it. But like I said, it does not hold up as much as I thought it would. Speaking of not holding up, this is super morbid, but the main bad guy of the series makes a joke about like, oh yeah, we cater to the most elite, the most rich people on the world and give them experiences nobody else can, like visiting the ruins of the Titanic. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Somehow this book in 2012 was on the same wavelength of the Titan sub expeditions that unfortunately took an additional 5 people's lives when the sub imploded. It's a whole mess. But yeah, that speaking of not aging well, that was like, oh dear. I know this was meant to just be like a throwaway comic, but okay. Anyway, I think it's worth a read if you are a Warehouse 13 fan and you're like, yeah, that was a good show. I haven't seen that in a while. I That's my review of Warehouse 13, the trade paperback from Dynamite Comics and Sci-Fi. Check it out.
Cool. All right, something that's been on my stack for a while, something I remember seeing in the previous catalog last summer, probably. I really was attracted to the name. It had a really funny synopsis. I am talking about none other than Lisa Cheese and Ghost Guitar Attack of the Snack. Lisa Cheese moved to Earth City hoping to make a name for herself as a folk singer, but her very first open mic was a disaster, leaving her with a bionic arm and an identity crisis. Now she's starting a crummy office job, her parents back in their home dimension are laying on the guilt trip, her sister's acting smug, and the cool girl at the record store leaves her tongue-tied. But none of that will matter if the city's demonic new burger corporation achieves its evil ambitions. Lisa's very life is at stake. Fortunately, she has allies. Astounding first graphic novel from artist and musician Kevin Elvire is packed with off the charts creativity and electric energy, blending vintage comic book aesthetics with contemporary concerns and crusty lo fi passion. Once you meet Lisa Cheese, you'll never be the same. And as I mentioned, this was done by Kevin Elvire. I think that's the only credit to the book, doing the writing and the art and everything. This was a blast. I read this in a sitting. I seem to have a pretty good track record with the graphic novels that I kind of take kind of go in blindly. I'm very big on names and quirky titles and things like that. We have this unicorn character holding a drink and has a bionic arm, and then there's a ghostly haired character over there with a guitar. But that Lisa Cheese and Ghost Guitar Attack of the Snack, I don't think I needed anything more to sell me. This is very fun. This comic gave me vibes of like, not necessarily like if you're a fan of this and this, you're going to love this, but I got the same kind of energy of excitement of reading Murder Falcon and God Hates Astronauts. Like those kind of, the way I felt about reading those comics, I felt very fueled in here. There are a lot of crazy, it's not just because we have like a unicorn horse-looking character, and we have like, cheeseburger characters. Like, there's a lot of things in here that are elements of goofy stuff from God Hates Astronauts. Um, but it has its own realisticness to it. God Hates Astronauts is its own wild, off the charts comedy thing. While this had a lot of funny moments, it definitely had some sincere moments as well. I will mention there's a little or a little piece of broccoli gets turned into a broccoli monster to help in one of the fights here. But Lisa Cheese, she has the aspirations to be a folk singer. We get a little bit of her backstory where she tries to perform, but there's a pretty riled up crowd at the open mic that she's at, to the point where the people in the audience are so full of rage that they rip her arm off. That leads to her getting a bionic arm, puts away the guitar, and here's some images of her trying out at the open mic. And yeah, it didn't take too long before her arm got ripped off, and then you see her here kind of leading a new life. This was her going to Earth City, moving away from her home dimension, and all of these things had gone wrong for her, and her parents basically they kind of use that against her, just being like, well, we warned you not to go to Earth City, look what happened. Like, you don't have a job that you like, you don't have the singing career, you lost your arm, all of these things. The parents, rather than being supportive and still trying to help her out, they kind of keep continuously bringing Lisa down, because we do have a moment in this book where Lisa goes back to visit the parents. We meet a crazy sister and just more shenanigans. And then the other theme of the comic is that it's this evil burger corporation is basically hounding the local businesses. They're trying to take over kind of like a family run string of restaurants and a chain that they have. And these burger workers are basically creating something in the burgers to kind of fuel up an army. Let me just word it that way. And all of these evil things and dark magic and stuff that's going on, Lisa finds herself kind of walks backwards into this existing issue, and realizing what can make her angry will fuel her bionic arm. So I think that's where I'm going to leave it for the teases of everything. This is a graphic novel. There's over 100 pages here, over 150 pages. This was super fun. Had some great messages, great character work. I love just all the characters that get brought into the circle here. A lot of great action scenes. This is definitely something that I would love to see more of. I did a little research with Kevin Elvire. Sounds like he's a lot of like web comics. This may have started as a web comic idea. I can't confirm that or not, but that's kind of what I was getting with browsing his page. But this is his first graphic novel collection here. But yeah, I am excited, and if I see Lisa Cheese show up with the second volume of stories, I am not hesitating to get it. It was a lot of fun, and it is, for even though it has a lot of fun elements and goofy, quirky comedy moments. Uh, I would say the only thing here that would be mature rated is that there's some language in here, and it's not too overly done. Otherwise, it's just heavy on action and kind of not too violent action. It's all just kind of just goofy superhero type stuff. So, but I would say the only other rating would be that just some of the swear words used in here. But that is Lisa Cheese and Ghost Guitar, Attack of the Snack.
All right, I got Holiday Spirits. This is from Band of Bards. It's a almost trade size comic book. Holiday Spirits is a horror comic book anthology with suspenseful and spine-tingling tales, brought together in a frightful way by the familiar spirits from the Charles Dickens classic A Christmas Carol. You may never look at the holidays the same way again. And this was actually really confusing to me. But I got It's created by Jerome Gagnon, Travis Gibb. Yeah. Oh, I guess they were the main. I thought we had a variety. We have a variety of cover artists, but I thought we had a variety of different creators in this that did the stories. But I guess it was all. No, we got more people in here. And we got Clay Adams, Travis Gibb, Don Nagayan, Olivin Ortiz, Jerome Gagnon, Michael Yakutis, Kurt Belcher, Richard Elbez, Colleen Douglas, Jesus Sigan, Raleigh Lescouflair, Robbie Bragdon, Nathan Chio, Craig Florence, Travis Gibb, Don, and some repeats in here, and quite a few other people get their hands into these storylines. But you get a nice little forward, gives you basically the concept of why he wrote the book, what the reasons were, what his plan, what the book's kind of about. And it starts out with a story, The Curse of Marley. We have a security guy that works for a prison. He's kind of ticked off because he got a phone call saying, hey, it's Christmas Eve, but we need you to come in because we're going to execute someone today. And the person that they're going to execute just so happens to be Thomas J. Marley, the Jolly Krampus killer. So I don't know. They don't give you no description here. Is this the original Bob Marley? Supposed to be him, or is it like a grandson or a kid or something? I don't know. But he's known as the Krampus killer, kind of creepy looking guy. He's all set up, ready, gets pulled out to be finally executed, and he doesn't think they're going to do it, especially since it's Christmas Eve. But while he's sitting in his cell, eating his food of choice and stuff, the three ghosts appear to bring him some views of past, present, and future. But the weird part about it is that was really confusing to me is none of these scenes really have anything to do with the Krampus character. But they're trying to teach him something, set him right. He killed 28 people. They keep saying kids. So I don't know if all 28 were kids or not. So that's what he's on death row for. They don't talk nothing about like a Scrooge character or anything like that. So we just got the Marley is what we get in here. But then we go into a familiar story. It's called Familiar. But we get basically kind of a caretaker like lady that's inviting people into her house and making them a nice dinner and stuff, and then killing them off and serving them to her master, which happens to be a vampire, of course. Got that little bit of the storyline in here, and then she is promised by the vampire that she's going to be turned one day, and so she begs and begs because she is getting up to a ripe age. Oh, come on. I can't get a good picture of her out there without going into some spoilers, but she's up there in age, and so she wants to get turned. She was promised it. She did what she was supposed to do for her master, and her master has yet to turn her, so she tries to find a way to try and get turned without having the master do it. And she finds out what happens because of how she did things. Let me get this 1971 Christmas Eve story that every one of these stories, I should put that in here too. Every one of these stories is basically of people that had a nice, enjoyable life. Something went way wrong on a holiday and they turned evil because of it. They're just like, because of what happened or who they lost or whatever, they're punishing people in the future because of it. And this Christmas Eve one, we got Psycho Cupid out there killing off people, and once the cops take him out and stuff, we see this girl holding on to her husband, and her boyfriend, I don't know if they were married or not, didn't really say, but he jumped in front of her when the arrow was shot at her, and he took the arrow to the chest and died. So that's why she ended up going a little psychotic, basically around Valentine's Day, those type of holidays for the rest of the year. You see her walking around with an axe, just on the hunt, and she's going past the flower shop and seeing the hearts and everything. It just sets her off, and she goes after the people. But it's like each of these stories kind of also play in a way that they'll continue no matter what. If the people do die or whatever, then maybe there's someone else that also went through that type of thing at that point. But it could have been a twist of events. It could have been a wife that got killed instead of the husband that killed, or something like that, and then that person will turn down the road. Just how these stories play out. But it's like, it's weird because none of them have anything to do with the Marley character. Our next story is called, I have no idea, they aren't going to give us a name on it, but we got a lady that's just basically, she's into promoting herself online by trying out different types of makeups, and gets attention that way through her socials. And something happens with her mother's like some, I don't know if she has like witch, she's got to have some type of witch in her, because she uses like this earth guardian thing to, and this image shows up on her daughter's back, the one that is doing all the makeup stuff, and she ends up kind of like, that's her plateau to her next level of that witchery or something like that. What's going to bring her into the witch fold or something. They don't really explain it as witches, because we get these weird, there's a dead body there, but get these weird faceless characters, and it talks about them. They can see everything, but yet they have no eyes, and they can smell things, but yet their noses are real weird, and yet, I don't know. They don't say that they're aliens. They're kind of like, we get to see spaceships and stuff, but it's almost like these are humans that died in the past, and they're brought back to Earth in the alien form, but they were all maliciously murdered or killed, or something happened to them. But she's always wandering around with that symbol on her back, and just, I don't know. She's kind of, is she part of the aliens? Is she not? I'm really confused where a lot of these stories were going. We got Blood Hush, Silent Night. And this character is just, he's basically like a contract killer type character on a job, gets into, he's after someone that screwed him over on one holiday, and when he ends up coming across, I'm trying to give a non-spoiler picture of the guy that he's after. Oh, this one's similar. The other one's better because he's solidly covered in weird scars and tattoos, but it's this big guy. He's a billionaire. It has some interesting company where he's got all kinds of bodyguards around, so he's obviously doing illegal mischief, and this guy's paying him back for some reason, but we never hear why he's there, or what the overall concept of it is. We got remonstrance of things past. This one is basically Earth after Earth is gone through a demise, and these are people on, I'm guessing, Mars or the moon, but they're planetary domes that they're living in, and it has a fun, I get a fun creature in mind too, a fun plant creature that appears here. This one is kind of like Invasion of the Body Snatcher style story. This one had a feel like that, but they didn't have fun with it. Yeah, that one little creature that we get to see. We get the teasers that people are getting turned into plants and stuff like that. And we get this one creepy, scary kid that's getting absorbed by a plant. But other than that, really no explanation. These were very short stories, of course, so you're only looking at about 6 to 8 pages. Here's a good picture of our 3 ghosts that we have. And then we got Exit Us, which shows basically what's happening when the Earthlings are getting ready to leave Earth, but again, does not explain why we're leaving Earth, what happened to it, because it leaves billions of people on the planet and just a bunch of rich asses that decide to surround us all with weaponry and shoot all the people that try and get off the planet with them and stuff like that. They're the ones that took off to either Mars or the moon or wherever they set those places up on. But yeah, it's just, it does have the night, it has a flow where, like I said, the storylines go from the 70s to 80s. We get to the future where we're going into another orbit, into another planet, and restarting ourselves somewhere else. But yeah, it's just very confusing. And he even keeps saying, it's like, none of these stories have anything to do with me. What are you trying to teach me? It's like, I don't care. I'm ready to go for my sins. It's like, I killed 28 people. I've been waiting for you people to execute me for years, but it kept getting pushed off. And now they finally pushed it early and ended up doing it on Christmas Eve. So I get the concept, having it somewhat linked all together, but there's no good connection all the way through. But other than that, it was interesting stories, but I could have used like 2 pages for each one of them. Just a little bit more, a little extra description out of each one of those stories. So
Okay.
yeah, definitely interesting.
All right. All right, let's jump back over to Katie. What's up next?
All right. Next, I'm going to be talking about SpyXFamily Volumes 5 and 6 with story and art by Tatsuya Endo. We'll start with Volume 5. So, Volume 5 has basically like 3 subplots. You're the mother of this pretend family is deciding to take some cooking lessons. Now, Yor is an assassin. She's incredibly good at that. She does not have a lot of homemaker skills, and her cooking is deadly. It's taken people out, which I guess is kind of funny for an assassin. But she wants to get better at being a better cook, so she's taking cooking classes to moderate effect. She's getting there, but she's having some more misses than she has hits. But eventually, she is able to recreate a stew from her childhood that is good, and everyone enjoys, and then don't get sick for days afterward. So that was really cute. And so Anya, the daughter, is enrolled in like this really competitive like private school as part of the mission to get close to the bad guys. Anya is a sweetheart, and she's very empathic, given that she's a telepath. She's not a good student. She really is struggling a lot in school, so she has to study really, really hard for midterms. And because nobody else knows that she's a telepath, she can't cheat on the test. So Yor's brother Yuri comes in to help tutor her, and poor Anya, she tries so hard, it goes completely over her head. The good news is she was expected to fail every single one of her tests, and while she didn't score great, she didn't fail a single one. So I mean, hey, that's progress. We'll take it. We see her trying to make friends at school, where the kids are doing an arts and crafts project, and she's trying to help one of the other students who also happens to be a target in this mission. And they kind of sort of work together. We can definitely see that their friendship is, building and improving. And we see that Anya's very creative. I felt for her. She is trying to make this amazing, fantastical creature out of construction paper and tape, and, does as well as like a 7-year-old can. but it was real in her mind, and I feel for her. She is a good kid, despite the fact she's having a hard time at school. And then, so apparently these like midterm grades are really, really important, despite the fact these are all like first graders. But okay, it's a fancy private school. A lot of really successful people go there. All right, fine, it's important. We'll work with it. So one of the other students hires a fake spy to come in and change the grades on their rivals' tests. Now this is funny because Lloyd Forger, Anya's dad, is an actual spy who's been undercover this whole time trying to infiltrate the school, and the two of them end up crossing paths. And it drives Lloyd nuts because this guy's making every mistake in the book. He's a complete rank amateur, and Lloyd's like, well, who could possibly have the means or the motive to be changing these grades? They have a whole thing. Lloyd, of course, wins and comes out on top. We find out that it wasn't the person we thought it was that was changing grades. There's a funny moment in here where, the phrase, it's a whole enchilada. Well, little Anya hears that knowledge is a swole chihuahua. So we get an image of a very jacked up, tiny little dog doing muscle poses. And that's how it stays in Anya's head, that it's not the whole enchilada, it's a swole chihuahua. And I think I'm going to start using that now because that idea is just absurd. I love that. And then at the end, the kids have to do an assignment about occupation that they might want to do, and they can interview their parents. So Lloyd and Anya have a take your daughter to work day where they go to the hospital where Lloyd, who is pretending to be a psychologist, is working, and all the staff love Anya and they think she's super cute and adorable. And Lloyd gives her passable enough answers, but given that Anya is quite inquisitive, she ends up exploring around and finds out that her dad has some cool secret spy stuff. So including an emergency exit, kind of a little like catwalk where he can like spy on other people. And then we also meet a character who's going to be important in Volume 6, Agent Nightfall, who is posing as an administrative clerk at this hospital. Anyway, we see a hilarious take your daughter to work day. Anya presents her report, and then a new challenger arrives. So Agent Nightfall is a female spy who both admires Lloyd professionally and is in love with him personally, and she feels like she could take Yor's place in this fake family and progress the mission. And that's the end of book 5. We'll go to book 6, where we see Agent Twilight and Agent Nightfall compete in a underground tennis tournament for rich people where anything goes. Apparently the theme of my books this week is rich people being allowed to do whatever the hell they want. Neither of the agents are tennis experts, but they win every single match by using their super secret spy skills and athletic abilities they developed in that, up until the final match where the players are, they're playing dirty, anything goes. They got snipers, they've got poison gas, they got people loading the balls, all kinds of crazy stuff. And anyway, our agents end up winning and defeating the bad guys, all to uncover some secret information that was hidden on a painting that was offered as a prize in this event. This is kind of, in real life, none of this makes sense. In comics, we'll work with it. They get the goods, they deliver it to headquarters, and then we see the tension between your Lloyd / Agent Twilight and Agent Nightfall, where their Agent Nightfall is kind of subtly competing to replace Yor, and then not so subtly as we go on. But Anya can tell what she's thinking, and she doesn't want Agent Nightfall to be her new mommy. She does like Yor as her mom, and Yor is trying her best. We have a couple funny moments where the two ladies are playing tennis, and given that Yor is an amazing assassin, she just obliterates like the tennis balls and tennis rackets. Despite the fact she's like a 110-pound lady, she has amazing like super strength and skills. So that's pretty cool. And given that nobody can say, well, I'm an assassin or I'm a spy, we get it all narrated to us through Anya's point of view, which is crazy and super funny. Anyway, there's a lot of drama. At the end of the book, Yor and Lloyd go out for cocktails and have kind of a heart to heart where it seems like maybe Yor does have romantic feelings for him and he is also developing those. But then I feel like none of these people know how to use emotion for its own sake. It's always like part of a mission or trying to get a mark or something. So they have this big heart to heart and end up deciding that they're still going to be this pretend family, but maybe they're becoming more than just a pretend family. And then we end with Anya going shopping with one of her school friends, which is really cute because, you know, the other girl is really struggling to make some friends. And Anya is such a bright and sweet, vivacious little thing. And that was just really touching to see them go shopping together and how, you know, two kids from totally different backgrounds could have fun and can be friends. And I like that out of all the fancy things at the department store and all the outfits, they pick little keychains and they're going to have matching best friends keychains. It's cute. Anyway, that's my review. SpyXFamily Volumes 5 and 6 by Tatsuya Endo. Check it out.
Cool. All right, the next one on my list here, also on my stack for a while, but it was an instant buy out of the previous catalog, The Unpetables. These two best friends have had enough of being petted. It's a nonstop zany middle grade adventure as they bust out of the petting zoo and hit the road to find their destiny. Pigmend and Lizardo are free. They recently declared independence from their petting zoo, and now this pot-bellied pig and iguana are out to see the world. They are the Unpetables, and they're available for temporary work as freelance pets. But no matter what gigs the Unpetables may get, they have one very big rule: no more petting. Will Pigment and Lizardo find the independence they're looking for, or will maintenance man Kenny finally catch up with them and take them back to Uncle Milo's all-natural petting zoo? Hitch a ride on the nearest chicken and pick up this laugh-a-minute graphic novel full of rambunctious action and irresistible creativity. This is done by Dennis Meisner. Messner, autocorrect, Messner. And yeah, so I think that's very true when it says it's a laugh-a-minute graphic novel. This is great. This is all done in a black and white format. They don't waste any time to kind of get into the adventures. We get our backstory on our characters. We have Pigman and Lizardo, and they're kind of talking about just their experience at this all natural petting zoo. And they don't like being pet. You can see them being poked. You know, the pigs in like wearing a hoodie all the time, and you know these characters, these animal characters can walk and talk. It's it's hard to tell if the humans can understand them or not, or the other people. But they're wearing full clothes and everything like that. But we go through their adventures of basically several attempts to escape the petting zoo. Most of the time, it involves jumping on some chickens and hightailing it out of there. And we have the Kenny, the what was his full name? Maintenance Man Kenny, who is the one that's basically out to get them every time. Every time they try to escape, he jumps into action. He's got his own little golf cart there, and he chases after them. This is a combination between prose and comic books. You do have a couple traditional style panel layouts and stuff, but then you'll have pages like these that'll just kind of go back and forth and just kind of really play with the format and just tell its story in its own way. And it was very entertaining to get all the extra added information through some of the prose pages. You just saw the unique way for them to do that with the story. For instance, when our lead characters are trying to leave, they're taking a huge leap off these chickens between two bridges here, and it finds just the panel structure of just adding the prose down the middle. So I think it just does a really good job of just kind of just telling the story in its own way. and breaking a traditional graphic novel format. This is definitely 100%. They say a middle grade, but all ages, ton of fun, super funny, a lot of quirky characters. When we do get them out, because each chapter is basically a different adventure, and the further adventures are basically them successfully having left the petting zoo. They have now claimed that they are the freelance pets. They're like everything that you could want in a pet without the commitment, where they can pretty much just get up and leave. They don't have to worry, they don't like getting petted, obviously. So we go through like a montage of going through all these different customers that they're just going door to door, and there's a couple loopholes in there. So when they go out to this lady's house, and she's like, well, I could maybe use some pets, and it cuts to them like unclogging her toilet, and they realize that being hired as freelance pets, they didn't have the fine print in there that the customer wasn't allowed to hire them for work. Looks like we have a freelance pet climbing up. Oh, took over off of Kirby's screen there. Um, Great timing. And so yeah, going through all these different customers, you even get to this very, like, speaking of swole, we have a very jacked up and swole clown man here. And when the pets knock on that door, he goes, "Hello, my name is Thaddeus P. Giggle Mittens, professional bodybuilder and clown." And immediately our characters just run away because they're like, "Yeah, we don't want to deal with this." So there's a lot of great scenes of them just trying to find the perfect customer that they can be pets for. I won't go into too many details, but they come across this comic book loving, toy collecting geek named Chad. Chad is somebody who is actually going to be a high prospect for them, being like, hey, we might actually fit into this guy's life. Might be a pretty cozy life. This guy, has his own obsessions with his toys and his comic books and everything like that. So he's not necessarily just going to be sitting there and petting us all day. The one thing I want to mention that just made me laugh the entire way through. So they play the name Chad, and when they use the word,
Did we lose him again?
I thought it was me for a second. I guess we did.
Oh, what?
I know. I started my second.
Okay, I don't know if you guys can hear me. All right. So we had this because the audience will hear this. Are we back?
It's fun.
We are back.
Hello.
I had it covered, but then the recording stopped.
Yeah.
Okay, so we experienced this before. My normal internet didn't do anything, so it just kicked me out and put me back in. So, have I talked about Chad? Did you hear me talk about Chad?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, because I was just starting about explaining Chad, so I will start from that point there. For anybody at home, basically, I had technical difficulties, and we are back. So, what's funny with the name Chad is that Chad is often used as, like, when you call it like, oh, he's a real Chad, and like, it's used as just kind of a certain type of person. It might be, I wouldn't say it's a male Karen in a way, but it's kind of used in that same thing, being like, oh, he's being such a Chad. And they lean into this pretty well because this guy's name is Chad Michael Chad Jr. And I just could not stop laughing all the way through. We have so many other Chad related things in here that spoils the story, so I'm not going to mention how they just continuously use the name Chad in funny ways. But like I said, Chad is somebody who they finally find potential, being like, this could be one. And the only tease I'm going to leave here is that while Pigman and Lizardo are living a very comfy life as freelance pets for Chad Michael Chad Jr. A couple days into this relationship here, this new household, they find a little hamster that rolls out in a hamster ball to send out a warning and giving them a little information on a possible curse that exists. So that's where I'm just going to kind of leave that tease. This book is hilarious. This is fit for like a great animated series, like if it's like a Nickelodeon series or something like that. This was just a ton of fun. And I knew it was a reason why I said Nickelodeon, because going into the creator, Dennis Messner, um, he's worked as an ice cream truck driver, a vacuum cleaner salesman, a hospital janitor, a concert grip, a car wash attendant, a telemarketer, a bricklayer, a caterer, a video game or video production artist. Later, as a graphic designer, Dennis entered a Nickelodeon storyboard competition he saw in a magazine, which resulted in him creating an animated TV pilot. So, if he's checking this out, I don't know where the status of this is, but this is so fun. More people, more kids, more everybody should know about the Unpetables. It's super funny, and this would make an excellent animated series as well. So, much like the Lisa Cheese book, that if there's more Unpetables in the future, I know I'm picking up future volumes because this was a hoot. Very funny, funny stuff for all ages. So, yeah, that is the Unpetables. All right, and we see that Kirby's cat is very pettable, and so I don't know. The cat might not enjoy this and might feel better at the petting zoo there and being okay with that, but we'll get the review later.
Hey, pigs aren't that pettable.
Maybe if they got a hoodie on, though, maybe it's a little more new. All right, what's your next one there?
All right, we got Space Usagi, Death and Honor, #1 of 3. I was so happy when this run started up. They had the little one shot that I reviewed not long ago, and now they're starting up with the regular runs. And this is very much Star Wars-esque. You basically start out with a big space battle going on. Space Usagi is one of the main pilots, runs the cruise for Lord Shirohoshi's space fleet. And it's his responsibility. Well, it becomes his responsibility. And Usagi's always the main samurai, the head swordsman, the one that takes care of all the clan and everything, the training, the teaching, the leading of all the troops and all that stuff in every type of storyline of Usagi. But in this one, he's working for that lord, and the lord asks him, he's like, I'd like you to train my son, take care of my son, teach him how to fly, teach him how to fight, all that stuff. So he takes on that mantle, and the lord's son goes with him wherever he goes, and something happens where, well, they have a battle in the beginning, then the battle gets taken care of. Usagi and them chase everybody off. They had some ships in an outer quadrant that luckily Usagi called in, and that kind of chased the rest of them away. We find out later on that one of the Lord's other main men basically is turning on the Lord and joining up with the other forces, and that's why he had the ships in the outer quadrant away from everybody, so they wouldn't have enough ships to deal with the battle. But luckily Usagi brought him in. And then we find out that this is going on. They do it kind of like the old wooden Trojan horse story, where they bring in a giant turtle ship to come in to get docked, to get worked on at the main. Well, it's basically a flying fortress is what one of their main battleships is, instead of a ship type thing. It's more like a Asian castle type. Has that Hellboy feel where you got flying houses going on around. But yeah, they bring in the turtle ship, and of course a bunch of ninjas sneak into the thing and start attacking from the inside, and then they bring in their other ships from the outside and start another big battle. And we find out that the one guy turned on the Lord, and the Lord goes after him, and a bunch of stuff happens. And at this point, Usagi's already been told to take his son, get him out of there, protect him, and do whatever. But this is issue 1 of 3, so we'll see where the story goes. But I love the way they started it. I would say if you're a fan of Star Wars, and animation and stuff like that, you probably enjoy these books a lot. I've been looking forward to Space Usagi coming back for, I don't even know how many years he's been gone. I want to say 80s, but it could be longer than that. But yeah, it's nice seeing it. It's basically Usagi Yojimbo in space, and he's still doing his same thing, same roles and that, and still the badass samurai he's always been, and takes care of everybody the way he can and does what he can. But yeah, this is by Dark Horse Comics, of course. Dan Sakai, check it out. Space Usagi's back.
Cool. All right, and the last pick on our weekly reviews is a furthering volume of something Katie's been bringing, so let's hear it.
Yes, this is Komi Can't Communicate, Volume 17 by Tomohito Oda. This was a special request from my little brother. He read this, handed it to me, and says, you should read this for the comic book club. And then today, when he saw me getting my books all laid out, he's like, oh, I can't wait to hear this. So, Nikki, this is for you. And here's my review of Komi Can't Communicate, Volume 17. All right. So it is the annual culture festival at the high school, which I guess is like equivalent to having a Christmas concert or a spring concert where the band and, you know, all the choirs and the musical perform. So the culture festival this year, the kids are putting on a play where Komi is the princess and Tadano is the servant. So the play starts off really well. Komi, as the title says, does not speak, so she is playing a princess that is cold and aloof and admires the commoner from afar. And Tadano does all the majority of the speaking. And it becomes clear through this love story that Tadano and Komi are more than just friends. And this has a big effect on one of their other classmates, Rumiko Monbagi, who also likes Tadano as more than just a friend and is friends with Komi. So that's going to lead to some things going on later in the story. We have a big emotional moment that kind of culminates the end of this book. What else? So we have Tadano in drag for the majority of this book. Tadano ends up having to switch outfits with one of his female co-stars, and so he's running around in a skirt and a dress and a hat and a wig, and everyone's really confused because they either recognize Tadano and they're like, why is Tadano dressed all weird, or they don't and they're like, oh wow, who's this new pretty girl? So there's a lot of humor with that, including where Tadano runs into their classmate Katai. Something, it's not explicitly said, it is left up to the reader's interpretation. I think Katai is either gay or bisexual, and he has a crush on Tadano. So he's like, okay, well, you know, I guess I'll walk this girl to her next class. And then at the end, he's like, oh, you know, like, she's really nice and she's really pretty, but like, what about Tadano? They bump into Tadano's sister, and she's like, why the hell are you dressed like that? Katai's like, oh, we're cute sisters. Anyway, and then at the end, Tadano, you know, is like, oh, thank you so much. He takes off his wig and is back to his regular self. And both Katano, or I'm just making up names, both Katai and Tadano are super confused. They have a galaxy brain moment. What else? So Najimi is up to their usual trickery where they are scalping tickets to other students. I sort of thought the culture festival was free, but Najimi is trying to charge money for these tickets, which is once again going to get them in trouble because they tried this last year and made a whole bunch of money, and then the student council was like, no, you have to give that back. Like, this is free. What else? So, as I mentioned, both Komi and Monbagi like Tadano as more than friends, and it just kind of clicks for Monbagi as she's seeing this play that there's chemistry between the two, and it really upsets her, and she gets upset and leaves and is just acting really weird. Is, you know, people are like, oh, how are you today? And that she responds and like, oh, you seem quite tense. Or, you know, oh, how are you? I'm fine. And it's very clearly that they're not fine. So she's having a moment. She's very emotional. and ends up not being able to participate in the play. And Komi gets really concerned for her because they're walking around and Komi's like, "Oh, are you okay?" And Manbagi's like, "Oh, like, am I okay? Do I seem weird? Why would you ask that?" It's very clear she's not okay. She ends up running off and crying in the stairwell, and she's just feeling really bad and emotional and all over the place. I want to remind you, these are high schoolers, so if they're acting like teenagers, it's because they are teenagers. And even though Komi does not talk very well, she is getting better at communicating. So she comes back and finds Manbagi, and they talk through their feelings, and Manbagi just kind of like spills everything that she's thinking, and how, like, she really likes Tadano, but she knows that like Komi does too, and she'll stop pursuing Tadano. And then Komi's like, well, don't do that. Like, that's not fair to you either. And I care about you, and I don't just want you to quit. And they end up having a little bit of an argument, but they end up resolving it. And Komi has a moment of growth that is really important for her character. So she normally writes everything down or texts everything. And Komi Volume 1, in a confrontational situation like this, where you're dealing with big feelings and the possibility to express yourself poorly, would have avoided it. But here we see Komi actually using her voice to express herself, and I just thought it was super touching, and it shows a lot of growth between these characters. Every character in this class has something about them that both makes them special and unique, but also makes interacting with them challenging. And to see these two characters have that growth, I thought was really, really special. And also, I like the idea that instead of having two girls competing for a guy, they acknowledge that they actually still want to be friends with each other and be friends for Tadano. And I thought that's really good. The American trope is very much like you're putting two people against each other. I like that this is more like, oh, hey, we actually still all can get along and work at creating a group versus a 1v1 situation. And then Tadano, thankfully, is still dressed in drag, so he has to go on stage and take Komi's place as the princess. And he actually does a pretty good job, because he's the only one that knows all the lines. He's, I guess, just studied everything. And it's funny because some people are like, the hell is Tadano doing? And other people are like, oh, wow, that's amazing. Just kind of a continued joke throughout the book. I say drag. I don't know if it's technically drag or if it's just a guy wearing girls' clothes. Where the definition lies, I don't know. I'm not an expert on that. I don't know if this book would be allowed in certain states, but okay. I'm going to read it here and review it.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
It's very much allowed on the Crimson Cowl Comic Club, so.
Thank you. There's nothing dirty or sexual or any innuendos at all about characters cross-dressing. It's literally just a guy wearing girl's costume. It's not gross. So I do still think this is perfectly fine for tweens and teens to read. I see no problems with that. I really like the way the friendship between the two girls is portrayed in this book. I love their growth. The fact that everything manages to be both authentic but didn't ever make me like cringe at any point. I really appreciated that. And then at the end, everyone takes their regular roles back in the play and it all works out. And then both girls end up laughing at Tadano for looking so silly and being such a goofball. And I just really enjoyed this. I thought it was really fun. I liked the friendship. I liked the growth. I also like representation. I don't know if this is a choice by the author or if this is just a cultural difference between Japan and the US. It's never stated that a character is, non-binary or gay or anything like that. It does leave it up to you, but I like the fact that that could be said about some of these characters. It's just my headcanon, so other people could read it and be like, well, Najimi's trans, or you're completely way off base and you're way overthinking it and there's nothing to it. I like that while none of these characters have labels, they all have space to grow, and I think that opens it up to more people enjoying this and relating to it, because you either are going through high school or you've been through high school, and it's not easy. It is challenging. There's a lot of both personal and academic growth and making big decisions about your life and learning how the world works. And I find the way that this book presents that is just really meaningful and heartfelt. And even though all of these characters have challenges, they are still seen as people who are worthy of becoming friends with and getting to know, and seeing them for what's in their hearts and minds and not just what is giving them a difficult time. And then at the end, the kids all have their celebration party, and the girls have fun dancing, and it's all going to be okay. Najimi, once again, has to give back all the money that they made off of these free tickets. But I enjoyed volume 17. And at the end, it sums it up really well. Manbagi says, I've really realized something. If you and Tadano became a couple, or one of the other 100 million chances, no matter how awkward, we still want to be friends. She says that she still wants to be friends with Komi, and her attraction to Tadano is less than her desire to be friends with Komi. And I thought that was really, really nice and a good way to look at it. I'm rambling. I like this book. It had a powerful effect on me. I'm looking forward to volume 18. And that is my review of Komi Can't Communicate, volume 17. I feel like this is appropriate for ages 11, 12, and up. And I think it's worth checking out. It's been a surprise favorite of mine. That's my review.
All right. And that is going to do it for the weekly reviews, as well as do it for this episode. A quick couple plugs here. At the time that this episode drops, I will have already been at Comic Verse in New Berlin, Wisconsin. So in our time of recording, it's 1 day away. But for the sake of the audience listening to this, I made $1 billion and I sold everything. And now I have a couple days to draw new stuff for MightyCon in Milwaukee, Saturday, February 10th, which will be the upcoming show. I will be there with original art and prints of my digital work from Procreate. I will be there with some bookmarks. I will be joined under the Crimson Cowl Media banner with David Gloyd Sr. and David Gloyd II. Both of them are going to be on hand to talk about and sell their first ever printed comic book, Tales from the North, The Dungeon. And they'll have their own art and other collectibles and such under the Crimson Cowl Media banner. So all three of us will be there. I know David Gloyd II will be there, I think, half of the day, but he will be there to show up at MightyCon in Milwaukee, Saturday, February 10th, mightyconshows.com. We have a website, crimsoncowl.com, for info and original webcomics, including to reach out to us to order yourself a copy of this, and we'll get that message over to David, and you can get be part of history and own this comic book. Crimson Cowl Comic Club on iTunes. Subscribe, rate, and review. Crimson Cowl Comic Club on YouTube. If you are just listening to the audio, then you are missing the fact that during the Unpetables review, we had the opposite happening, which was a pet being petted right here on the show. You can't hear that. You have to go to YouTube and subscribe and like and all that fun stuff to watch the video version over there. The Crimson Cowl, all one word, over on Instagram, Crimson Cowl Comic Club at yahoo.com. If you want to reach out to us, and if that's where you want to place an order for that comic book, we will make that happen. Kirby has a spin-off podcast called Under the Cowl of MS rather. I put a different accent on whatever letter or word I was trying to say there. That just means at the end of the show, and I'm just rapid firing. So what do you want to promote for what came out or what's on the horizon for Under the Cowl of MS?
We're not promoting S&M. We got lots of Instagram single comic book reviews out, pretty much putting one out a day lately. You also got some group comic book reviews and some more unpacking videos. So check those out on YouTube, Instagram, and follow us on any podcasting platform you can, and we'll keep putting stuff out.
Excellent. So yes, once again, Under the Cowl of MS, wherever you get your podcast, as well as YouTube and especially Instagram. And then I have some artist accounts on Facebook and Instagram at Anthony Laatsch, Laatsch, if you want to follow that. At the time of this recording, we just got a whole new batch of episodes of the Masters of the Universe cartoon that is done by Kevin Smith and his creative team. And coincidentally, because I forgot that was dropping, I drew this had no knowledge that those episodes were dropping, but I drew my version of Skeletor laughing. So there was a recent post on my artist accounts there. This one is per a request of Damon from the Crimson Cowl Comic Club, and yeah. But all of a sudden, I did it. I posted it, and or I went to go post it, and I saw Kevin Smith pop up and say, "Hey, new episodes!" And I'm like, "Well, that was a coincidence." So follow the art accounts. Also, subscribe to Cartoonist by Night over on YouTube, a drawing show that I host alongside Troy Dungara, Matt Rogers, Matt Fife, and a recent frequent guest, D. Brad Gibson. So go ahead and check out those episodes, Cartoonist by Night on YouTube. That's going to do it for this. I hope to. Yes.
I have a live update. Sorry, I've been trying to get your attention, but you're doing a great job at our plugs. I have a live update from my brother, who is the Komi expert. He wanted me to say it's not drag per se; it's more of a disguise forced upon Tadano to avoid jealous students who are jealous that he got to give Komi a kiss. And so, extra context from the Komi expert. Yeah, that is going to be our show. Anthony, take it away.
All right, thank you for the breaking news, because we always want to get that under the wire. Because if I would have ended the show, that information would have just been kept between us, and listeners would have to eagerly subscribe to all of our shows to get that answer in a future volume. But yes, thank you for chiming in. That is going to do it for this episode. This whole time, I've been asking for a heartfelt meow.
I've been spacing out with holiday spirits.
And I've been a swole chihuahua.
To be continued.